Welcome to MacGyver's Workshop, where you never know what we're going to be working on next. If you're not too careful, you just might learn something. Hi there, welcome back to another episode of MacGyver's Workshop, where you never know what we're going to be working on next, and if you're not too careful, you just might learn something. Today, we're going to be working on a 1994 Ford/New Holland, this is a 1715 model tractor. And I guess you would call this a compact tractor. It's about 25 horse, a little 3-cylinder diesel on it. And unfortunately, these tractors, this particular tractor has a nasty tendency of the clutch freezing up on it. And the disc will actually stick to the flywheel, and then eventually it'll get to the point where you can't hardly disengage the clutch anymore, which is where this one's at. So we're going to split the tractor apart and put a new clutch in it and see what we got. Now, I've kind of gotten a little ahead of myself here as far as video goes, but one of the first things we had to do is remove the fuel tank, and then what we're going to do is go ahead and we've already disconnected the battery, of course, and then we're going to go ahead and take the starter out, and then we've got our jack stands here on each side because this one has a loader on it, so we're going to have to undo the bolts to the loader, and then once we get the starter out, like I said, we can unbolt the bell housing, and we'll support the front and the back of the tractor. The front half will remain stationary, and then we'll just roll the whole back of the tractor back, because we'll use a floor jack underneath the transmission there. Of course, the other thing too, we're going to have to pull the front drive shaft out because this is a 4-wheel drive tractor. Alright, one of the other things we're going to have to do here is we have to disconnect the hydraulic lines that run from the back here up front to the motor. So we'll drop those, make sure we catch all our fluid in a nice clean container so we can put it back. And we'll sift it, strain it, put it back because she just changed it. And once we're done with that, now the other thing that's going to hold us up is going to be the steering linkage. And normally that would be a royal pain, but we're going to do something a little different with that. We're going to disconnect it from the bell housing, and we're going to hang it just like we're going to hang the front of the back of the motor. So we'll disconnect all that here in just a minute. Okie dokie. Let me get over here where we can see. We cracked that puppy in half. Look at that. Basically, you can see where I told you where we had to take those bolts off on each side for to hold the loader up. And the trick is you go to each side on the loader, okay, and then you have a crossbar here which goes down to the motor, and that holds all that up, and then all this other hydraulic mess here for the steering just ties up and holds up there, and all that holds it up nice and out of the way. And then you undo all your bell housing bolts, and you support the underside with a hydraulic jack and a block, and you just split it apart and roll it back. And this will be of interest to the owner of the tractor. You can see how all rusted up that got, and that disc was sticking, and probably the pressure plate itself too was not releasing. And you can see, well, you probably won't be able to see much in here, but yeah, you can. Listen to that throw out bearing. Sounds like shit. So now, next step is we'll take that clutch and pressure plate off, see what the flywheel looks like. I'm guessing the flywheel is going to look okay, but we'll go from there. All right, got the clutch and the pressure plate off of here, and one thing you'll notice, you'll see that this should be bright and shiny like a disc brake rotor, where, you know, because the clutch slips on that is what it's supposed to do, but it didn't. It just got stuck, and that was it. It's literally rusted to the flywheel, and it's rusted and frozen to the pressure plate as well. I mean, I can't even get it off the pressure plate. Yeah, I'll have to grab a screwdriver here. Maybe I can break it loose. Hear that? Won't even. Yeah. Look how bad that's frozen. It's pretty bad. That is really bad. Well, anyway, like I said, our flywheel isn't grooved up, which is good. So we'll just clean that up with a little angle sander, and we'll install we'll put a new pilot bushing in there and get this back together. Alright, so there's our new clutch, pressure plate, throwout bearing, and pilot bearing. Of course, the pilot bearing was not going to cooperate and come out of the back of the flywheel, so we're going to have to convince it, if you will. You want to be my cameraman, sir? Let my buddy Robert here help me out. I think we're going to need something a little more persuasive. So we'll use the BFH. I win. A lot of times people don't bother changing that, but if it comes with your clutch kit, by God, go ahead and change it. It's worth it. So we don't want to do that. We want something a little bit bigger of a base to drive it in. Like so. Hold on. Now we'll put our flywheel back on, and then we'll go after that throwout bearing. See, I got the flywheel cleaned up, sanded all that rust and nonsense off of it. Then when we go to put our clutch in there, we'll use our alignment tool like that, so we don't have to fight aligning that when we go to slide the tractor back together. Ooh! Little joker's heavy in it. Tighten this clutch up here a bit. Alright. Now, with an alignment tool, when you go to pair this all back up, it'll slide right together. You don't have to worry about that disc being off center. Best thing ever made right there. Now we got to get into our throwout bearing here. We're gonna have to press that off. So, okie dokie. So there's the remnants of our old clutch parts. Anyway, there's the pilot bearing. There's the throwout bearing. That thing, you can tell that thing sounded like crap. We had one bolt that broke off of the flywheel. We had to extract that. And this is the pressure plate with the disc still stuck to it. And I never was able to get it off. I imagine if I really got on there and pried on it, I'll get it apart, but there's no point really. So that's that. Now let's go have a look here at our nice new clutch all in there. And there's our new throwout bearing. You spin it, see it's nice and quiet. And now it's a matter of marrying the two halves of the tractor back together and basically, you know, redoing everything we undid earlier. So let's get to it. Now, this is where your money goes when you pay for skills to do something. Because when you have a loader like this, invariably the bottom kicks in when you spread it and take it off of the tractor. So having a porta power to spread it apart so you can roll your tractor back together and marry the two halves up really makes life a whole lot simpler. Because I don't know exactly how you would do that if you didn't have one of those. Now, we want to make sure that our gap between the bell housing and the motor is even all the way from the bottom to the top. You can see right there, that gap is nice and even. So that way we know that the tractor, both halves of the tractor are at the same level as we work it together. Now I have to line the input shaft, and I also have to line up the front drive shaft for the four-wheel drive. So it makes it a bit tricky for one person, but we'll manage. Okay, we've had the skadunk of success. Where both the input shaft and the front drive shaft, everything was all lined up, and we were able to marry the two back together. Now we're going to start getting our bolts in under the bell housing and secure the two halves together, and then we can start bolting like the loader and everything else back in. Alrighty, we got her all back together. Gonna hook all the hydraulics back up, make sure everything was all tightened up nice and tidy. And now we have a good working clutch. And I'll get up in here and crank it up and we can drive it around, and you won't hear the throwout bearing squalling like a banshee, and the clutch will actually disengage. Pretty neat. And one other thing I noticed while I was working on it, both of the tie rod ends I guess had worked loose and were flopping around, and apparently they've been flopping around for a long time and wallered out the holes in the steering arm there. I backed it up with some washers and pulled them tight, and that'll do for a while, but eventually she's going to have to change this top piece here, put a new tie rod end on each side, but that should last her for a good while though. But that, see what else did I find? One of the bolts that holds the loader on was missing its lock washer, so the bolt didn't tighten up all the way. It ran out of threads, so we put a lock washer on that. Let's see, the hand throttle kept popping off the injector pump, so we went ahead and fixed that and just kind of worked out a way to, well, that ain't gonna focus, so worked out a way to retain that cable in its little slot there. Other than that, she's good to go. Let's jump in here and take her for a ride. Okay, clutch in, fuel shut off in, crank her up. You'll hear that the throwout bearing's nice and quiet now. You don't hear it making all that racket. We'll put her in there and back her up. Oh, let's turn our headlights on. Obviously it's a little dark out, but Maddie, the MacGyver's workshop dog, will lead the way. And we will come to a stop. Put her in reverse and back up. Turn around. Alrighty then, another job done at MacGyver's workshop. So pretty much made this video mainly for the benefit of the lady who owns the tractor. This wasn't really a good how-to, but hey, if you're ever working on a 1715 and you have a question on how to split one apart and take the clutch out, you know, feel free to drop a comment, and or you can email me directly at MacGyversWorkshop@gmail.com, and I'll do my best to answer you as quick as I can. I stay pretty busy between my day job and, you know, and of course working in the shop here, so always got something going on. But again, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. You know, you never know what's coming in the shop next, so see you next time.